Hello.
Hey Yuri,
Hi there. Hi, Sam.
how's it going?
I'm fine, man. And you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking the time to swim in the bowl. I just want to say I'm like a huge fan of Firefriend. I'm very excited for the new album. I have a couple questions here. I guess we'll see how long everything takes. I have plenty of time, so my first question for you is, what got you interested in music?
I grew up in a small city in Brazil in the 70s, and I think that music opened a new world. Being there, isolated in a small city in a country so strange like Brazil is, uh, it music helped me to keep my life going.
Awesome. What got you interested in psychedelic stuff?
We are huge fans of the music made in the 60s, and it's natural for people listen to that kind of music, kind of sound, to find how it evolved through time across the decades. And the neo psychedelics, it's how that sound is sounding today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's how we get there.
I can definitely hear a lot of different bands in your sound. One of them, I mean, definitely is the Velvet Underground. I was actually listening when I first found out about you guys. I was listening to one of your albums, and I was in the car with my dad. And my dad is like the one who got me into like music and movies and everything. And he's big on, he grew up in the 60s and 70s, and saw a lot of great, bands and everything. He was a big Frank Zappa fan and Lou Reed and everything. And we were listening to one of your albums, and he said, "This sounds like Lou Reed, kind of like Velvet Underground stuff." And there's a lot of other different stuff going on in there that I can definitely hear like a lot of the 60s psychedelic stuff fused into your sound. And I was wondering who were some of your major influences.
You know, we are three people in the band, and each one of us have its own preference. Myself, I love Velvet Underground, Stooges, and Virtualize, and MC5. But Julia's here. Sam, how are
Hi,
you?
Julia.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for swimming in the bowl with me.
Thank you. And I'm a huge fan of Saba, Led Zeppelin, and Typo Negative. I think it's, I don't know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. And our drummer, he is more into jazz. He's the John Coltrane guy. Yeah, he loves John Coltrane and all his drummers.
Awesome. Well, it is a pleasure having everyone on the show now. Again, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of your music, and I'm so excited for the new album to come out. I guess my next question for you guys is, how did you come up with the name Firefriend for your band?
Well, yeah, it was a word that just came to me several years before the band was put together. We, but it's a strange name, and we love it because nobody knows what it really means, but it sounds, I don't know, strange.
Well, I dig it a lot, and I'm one of those people that kind of is definitely like I mean, I went to school for screenwriting, And I have a couple of things published on Amazon and have been really doing well with screenwriting competition. I think the same thing goes for a band that goes for a movie. And, your title has to kind of like say, what your either your band or your film, is. And there's just something about your sound and the band name Firefriend that it's fitting. It's very fitting, and it kind of like you said, it's kind of unique and out of nowhere, but somehow it fits everything that you guys are about, and your sound and everything, and I really dig it a lot.
Thanks. So let me ask you, please, how did you find about us?
Spotify.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm very into shoegaze and dream pop and psychedelic rock in general. And I was listening to the Kundalini Genie and Frankie Teardrop Dead, and you guys showed up in my suggestion. And I listened and I became like an immediate overwhelmed fan because I'm a strong believer and that type of music is just it's untouched by commercial interruption that kind of makes everything overblown, and it's original and it's raw, and it's just really good music.
Thanks. We love this word, raw.
Absolutely, it would be a dream if you got. I know Brazil's pretty far from Pittsburgh, but if it ever came about, I would love to see you guys play live.
We have been in the U.S. Twice in the past, and I think the time has come to go back for our third tour in the U.S. Let's see what happens because after 2 years inside our homes, we are really thinking in the need of traveling and playing abroad.
That would be awesome. And I know the venues in Pittsburgh, and there's like several that, I mean, if you did a U.S. tour to Pittsburgh, I mean, I'm there. I'm there in a heartbeat.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I've had a chance to see the Dandy Warhols play live, and I've had a chance to see the Brian Jonestown Massacre and a few other shoegazy bands, but I don't think enough of that rolls through the Pittsburgh area, and I think in the U.S. in general, I think the U.S. is kind of a little ignorant and I guess good music right now because everything just kind of like that's popular, just it all sounds the same, and not only that, it's like you don't know who's singing what and if that's their real voice because everything is kind of like synthesized or like done in the studio. And I think it would be really great if music like Firefriend and the underground stuff was able to get a much wider audience. And that's what I kind of try to do by having you guys on the show and interviewing the shoegaze genre because it's so good and unfiltered. And I think more people kind of need to be aware that this awesome music is like out there.
Good. That's it. No, every record, every album is a kind of adventure, and one should be able to face a few new adventures every now and then, because there is so many good artists and good records being released today. There is so much information about music right now. This is I don't understand people that doesn't try to explore new things like that.
Absolutely. Like music is one of the greatest things that's like ever been invented, and there's so many different genres, especially today. I mean, with rock, I mean it's had a chance to evolve, for I guess like 100 years now, and there's really so much out there, not just with rock, but with all types of music. And I like to say that, like, I like to listen to something new almost every 2 weeks. I'm always exploring new bands and trying to find new stuff to listen to. And when I kind of do my screenwriting, I'm writing in the sense of, like, a lot of it is influenced by rock and roll. And I know there's like a whole department that chooses the songs and stuff for when a film is actually made and everything, but you can write in the script what the mood is supposed to kind of like be by giving a description. And I really am into, like, oddly enough, my other favorite genre of music is like Sabbathian heavy metal, like old school kind of like Black Sabbath sounding heavy metal, and kind of like stoner rock and stoner metal. But I guess it kind of makes sense because both are psychedelic, and I think there's just something about like psychedelic rock in general that is very raw, and you can jam out to it, and it goes great for movies, it goes great for driving, it just is very groovy.
Part of who we are as humans, to interact, to deal with the world through sound. Music is about our imagination. You can imagine anything when you're listening to music that you like a lot. Many images can pass through your mind, and you can just imagine wherever the pictures of the music. You can create it. And that's what I like most in psychedelic music, because I think it's all about this, to create images in your mind through the music. Full of colors, full of flavors, full of noise, waves, rich.
I definitely agree with that. It's the neural pathways, like open up with creativity. And I mean, when I'm listening to psychedelic music, I'll be honest, I'm probably smoking a bowl, and I'm like letting creativity and neural pathways with really creative music, allowing visionary stuff to kind of enter the mind, and release, like, whatever the drug is in your mind that hosts creativity. But I mean, you're absolutely right. I think psychedelic rock is on, like, a different creative level that definitely allows stuff to open in the mind that wouldn't be there before if it was just something more generic. And I think that's one of the reasons it's my favorite genre, and is in my opinion, like, the best genre of rock and roll.
There are so many great psychedelics. Right now, well, it's amazing because there are a lot of bands producing, creating. I think it's a very, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think it's very democratic genre of music, because you can do whatever you want. You just have to be creative, and I don't know, something like that.
I definitely agree. I mean, from my own friends who are into the same type of music, they're all doing something creative. They went to school for the arts, and I wouldn't just limit it to people that went to school for the arts, because I have a friend that's like more of a mathematician guy, and he's also really into this type of stuff, and heavy metal and everything too. But I think generally you have to be somewhat creative, whether that's, I guess, working with numbers, or screenwriting, or painting, or whatever creativity that is somewhat there. I think it definitely is more interpretive to those types of people, and have an appreciation for music in general. And I like to think that I'm very creative. When I was younger, I like to draw cartoons and draw a little bit. I don't do too much of that anymore, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing it again. And I guess I'm more creative now with trying to create a world, and a script, to try and get it out there to be envisioned as a film. And I'm always again thinking about music when I'm writing. Like what type of music would set the mood of a scene the best. And my other favorite genre that I grew up with. I was born in '88, so I grew up in the '90s, and one of my all-time favorite genres is grunge, and the whole '90s alternative movement, as well as '80s and '90s rap. I'm really into like that stuff as well. But I think something about the '90s, like that was the last era that I think music in general, as far as mainstream music in general, with being creative and having a creative outlet, it kind of stopped there. And everything that's kind of like creative now is, I mean, there's so much of it out there, but at the same time, it's like kind of on the underground because, the main audience is listening to, Taylor Swift and stuff like that. Not to diss Taylor Swift or anything, but that's mainstream music. And I honestly don't listen to anything that's mainstream. Everything that I listen to is like on the underground. And, I think psychedelic rock, as awesome as it is, just doesn't have the range of like the audience that mainstream music has. And you have to kind of be, I guess, more of a music aficionado to really delve into that stuff. And it's really just so good. And I wish more people were into it.
Yeah. Well, all those albums are out there on Spotify and Bandcamp. Those people, someday, if they really can free their minds, they will find this music because there's a lot of noise out there and people is so confused. There is too much confusion about everything, about everything. And music, as you have said, is exactly the same situation because there is a lot of good stuff on the underground, in the underground, and it's all out there. Just have to go there and listen. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, it is one of my goals to get a talk show, but that is an extension of my podcast. And I guess it kind of would be like a Tonight Show, like a late night show type deal. But I want to have basically like a band of my choosing on the show to do like a live act, and it would be giving the chance for bands that are really good and that are in the underground to kind of get a mainstream chance to publicity and everything to get their music out there. And I'd have a band on each time, and a couple actors to discuss their films and stuff. And that's a long term goal of mine. And you guys would, of course, be one of the first bands I'd have on there. Absolutely, absolutely. I did have a question for you, kind of, I guess, on the creativity of psychedelic and everything. I was wondering who did the artwork for your albums.
It's a long process. Me and Julia and I, we have long conversations. Each one of us can come up with several ideas. We fight for our ideas. We fight days for our every day. But when we find a good image that has the right feeling, brings the right feeling about the music we are releasing. It's usually agreement of the three. We do it ourselves.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I really like all the artwork on all the albums, and I think each album and each artwork on the album cover, it definitely gives the whole vibe off for what you're gonna listen to, and I guess like you said, like what kind of an adventure, are you gonna go on. And I really like it a lot. You guys do have a new album coming out next week, right?
No, next week, but probably in May.
May. Okay. Well, I'll have to wait a little bit longer, but that's okay.
Okay.
Um, Tell us about, I guess, what you can about, I guess, the sound of the new album and any kind of snippets that you might be able to give my listeners about.
Okay. The album is called The Creation Fact. It was recorded in the last year, last 12 months. I think we never spent so much time recording an album like we did with this one. It's been great doing this because we have more time and sometimes we're a little anxious to finish. But this time we are enjoying every minute, every fight for the song, for what we are creating. Yes, we learn a lot. I think that shows up on the music, and uh, there are 12 songs. Well, I don't know. It's almost ready.
Awesome, awesome. Do you know the date in May it's supposed to be released?
Probably 19 May, but I'm not so sure yet.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I am very, very much looking forward to jamming out to the new album. I had a couple more questions for you guys, and then I guess we can wrap it up. My next question for you is, who are some of your favorite bands in general? Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Who are some of your favorite bands in general? And then who are some of your favorite current bands, like we were starting to talk about earlier?
I love the Sabbath. Type O Negative started when I listening to today, about 30 years. I really love the sound, all the vibe of the music. And today I really, really like the Warlocks, the Brian Johnston Massive. I think they are my favorite bands too. The Warlocks they have an album that I really love, Heavy Devil School. I really love the album. I think they are amazing. Yeah, and I love a band called Darker My Love.
I love that band.
Yeah, were amazing. The best band in the world. Yeah, they are amazing. And today I love this band, the Outer Hours from Ireland. Do you know this band?
I do actually, yeah.
They are great. So many bands, difficult to say just a few. Rancho Relaxo, I don't know if it's how to pronounce. I love that. They just released it now. Yeah, they are amazing.
Awesome, awesome. It's one of my recent interviews that I posted, but it's a band that's also from Ireland called Strangers with Guns, and I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they have a very '90s alternative sound, like very like Rage Against the Machine, Alice in Chains, kind of Melvins type of sound, and they were a pleasure to talk to as well. If you're into that type of stuff, I definitely recommend giving them a listen. I think some of my current favorite bands, they would be one of them. I really have been listening to, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, Rosalie Cunningham. She's kind of like a prog rock, like a modern prog rock. She's awesome. I was listening to a band called Wukan or Wukan. they're kind of like along the same lines as prog rock, female prog rock. They're all really good. There's just so much good stuff out there. I'm a big fan of Blues Pills. I think they're out of Berlin. There's just a lot of good stuff out there right now, like we were talking about. But my next question is, do you have any upcoming other projects or tour dates kind of in the works?
Yes, we're trying to put together an European tour for here. When COVID seemed to fade away, then came the war, and now we're talking to everybody to see how they see what's happening in the near future.
Awesome. Awesome. My last question for you. I know I've been talking about music all this time, but I'm a big movie guy, and my show focuses a lot on movies as well. I was wondering, on a totally off the whim, separate subject, what are some of your favorite films?
Yes.
My family, 2001, is more than I really love. I already read the book, the movie, the music of the sound. I really love. This one is the best.
The best.
What is yours, Yuri?
Wow. I love some directors. I love Fellini, Michelangelo, Antonioni. I love Dave Cronenberg, Dave Lynch.
Wow. I think one of my, it's not a movie, it's a series, but I think it counts. The episode number 8 of the third season of Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, yeah.
It's spectacular. It's cinema.
Yeah.
It's movie.
It's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. The episode number 8. It's amazing. It's beautiful. What a sound. Thinking about sound. Every movie that has a great sound, I think I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna like it. If the sound or the music is bad, I don't know. Maybe I don't like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes a good movie, a good screenplay, got a bad music, got a bad soundtrack, and that fails the movie.
And what is your favorite movie, Sammy?
Well, that you just opened a big can of worms. I would say my favorite. I kind of break it down in the categories, but my number one favorite sci-fi movie of all time is Blade Runner. I'm a big sci-fi nut, and I totally believe in aliens, Bigfoot. I have my theories on the Loch Ness Monster, ghosts and all that totally exists. I'm very into the paranormal, and Blade Runner had such an awesome screenplay adapted from one of my top favorite authors of the 20th century, Philip K. Dick, who pretty much predicted everything that we're heading into with the future. And Harrison Ford, Sean Young, Rutger Hauer, the whole cast and look, and the special effects that were in Blade Runner when it came out in 1982, and everything still holds up. And the dialogue, unfortunately, I've talked to kids that are younger, than me right now, in their, early mid 20s, and none of them get Blade Runner. They all fall asleep through it or diss it, and they don't understand the impact of what that movie did, not just for special effects, but for concept of a modern take on, cyberpunk. And cyberpunk has become one of my top favorite genres of sci-fi because we're living in that now. Everything is within 40 to 50 years away. Body implants, body modification, androids, it's all kind of happening now. And global warming and everything, that was all in Blade Runner, and that movie is just, I think in terms of concept, story, acting, the score, the special effects, everything with it was just so well done. I think that would be one of my all-time favorite movies for sure. I'm also a big Schwarzenegger and Stallone nut. In fact, the whole Expendables cast, I'm fans of like all that stuff. You know, Bruce Willis, the Terminator, Predator, Total Recall, Rambo, Demolition Man. Like, I love all that stuff. I think another favorite trilogy of mine, because it's actually, the third one is actually my first memory that I have as a little kid. I think I was like maybe 3 years old. And that was being in a movie theater watching Back to the Future Part 3 on the big screen. And I love Back to the Future. You know, Marty McFly, Doc Brown, the DeLorean, all that stuff. I love it. I'm a big Mad Max fan. I thought Fury Road was like one of the best movies to come out in like a long time. But I don't want to go too far down that road because I can go on forever. But it was a pleasure talking with you guys. Again, I really appreciate you taking a dive in the bowl, and I hope the temperature was just right. I will let you guys know when this is posted. I'm gonna try and have it out in the next couple weeks. Try and put it ahead of some other stuff, but I would love nothing more than to have you guys on again for another chat.
Sure.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, Yuri, Julia, it was a pleasure talking with you guys. Take care, and can't wait to have you dive in the bowl again. Take a swim.
Hey, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.